Every time we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, we should be crying for Krishna. If we're not crying for Krishna while we're chanting, we should know that our heart is very hard. We're very fallen. Therefore, when we're saying Krishna, instead of our heart melting, is staying like a rock. We should be feeling so sad that while I'm chanting, I'm not crying. My voice is not choking up. My eyes are not filling with tears. My hairs are not standing on end. I am not quivering in my body. My heart is so hard. Then we should cry that we're not crying for Krishna. And if we are so hard-hearted that we're not able to realize how unfortunate it is that we are not crying for Krishna to the extent that we're not crying for Krishna, then we should deeply meditate, and then we should cry that we're not crying for Krishna. And if we're not crying that we're not crying for Krishna, then we should cry that we're not crying for Krishna. And if we're not crying that we're not crying for Krishna, then we should cry that we're not crying for Krishna. And if we're not crying that we're not crying for Krishna, then we should cry that we're not crying for Krishna. In other words, at least we should be crying that we're not crying for Krishna. At least we should be crying for Krishna somehow or other, how to satisfy his transcendental desires. That should be our mood. So intense, so fixed. Then Krishna, he cannot resist. All right. Thank you very much.